Chapter 3. The emergency protocol system was developed for massive countrywide emergencies. Paramedics and GPs across the country were selected by extra criteria. Those with exceptional fitness, extradisciplinary martial arts, and crisis training were funded for extra training and maintaining of fitness levels. There were various methods of activation of these personnel, but the primary one was the discontinuation of the whole transmission. Rusty clambered out of bed. Meandering through her messy room and getting to the kitchen was the usual stumbly affair. She tried to turn on her kettle, but the power was out. She strolled to the larder, reached into the darkness and pulled the lever. Hearing the kettle click and start to boil, she headed towards the bathroom. The shower was a brief one, but the radio she set up wasn't playing the whole transmission. Shit was about to go down. Rusty had multiple monitors hooked up to her PC. None of them were displaying anything useful. The internet just wasn't working properly. Some news sites had gone down, and the few that had relevant news were all over the place. Massaging her hands and donning a headset, she attempted to contact other members of her local web. It seemed that Rusty was one of the last guests of the party. Several crisis medics had dumped their reports via Dropbox. Rusty leaned back and took a long draw of her coffee while she perused her reports. One eyebrow refused to lower for about 10 minutes. Did she honestly just read a description of a giant tiger? Double-clicking the image folder, the galleries of hundreds of images filled her screens. This couldn't be a prank. The punishments would be beyond severe. Rusty chuckled to herself. The very idea that some idiot hacker would mess with their systems shook her torso. Getting down into the basement, she entered a code into a subtle panel. There was a click, a hiss, and a section of wall slowly swung out. Inside, a couple of strip lights blinked to life. The room inside was small but organized. A prep rucksack, several digital devices and mini tools. Some lightweight armor was hanging in a corner, as well as some climbing gear. Checking all her tools twice, she seemed content that it was all adequate. After dragging all of it back upstairs, she did one last check to see if anyone was online. As the PC booted up, Rusty caught her face in the dead screen's reflection. The wavy copper hair had gotten her nickname, and in fairness, it hadn't bothered her that much, considering the things she'd been called in school. Sadly, they hadn't been content with just names, so beatings soon followed. Her father had her enrolled in boxing classes, and after a year, her mum, having had enough after she'd been attacked by much older boys, got her enrolled in some Krav Maga classes as well. She kept up the martial arts all during her life. She had always been confrontational, and her mother referred to it as dental insurance. She wore whatever she wanted, hung out with whoever she wanted, and if someone tried her, they would feel those hands. Her olive skin and bright eyes would easily sold her as mid-20s, but her resting bitch face and generally unimpressed expression leaned more to the truth. The hardness of her face matched the tight muscles of her frame. She lifted, she ran, and enjoyed camping with her friends. Hopefully, one of those fools would have woken up before her and could fill her in. Laughing Bro, Smokey, and Fingers were logged on, but didn't appear to be answering. Slightly worried, she decided to leave them a group message. Hi guys, I have no idea what we're about to go into, but I hope you're keeping safe. I'm hitting substations A through to E, depending on traffic. So if you can't call or radio, I can be found at either site. I'll leave a marker so you can tell where I've been at a site or not. Changing to a single message, she dropped Fingers a private message. We gonna hook up after this is over? There's been some straight up ludicrous reports in my dossiers, and if half of this is true, I'm gonna need to relax. Fingers replied, It's all true. Be extremely careful and arm yourself. Rusty's eyes widened. If we survive, sure, we can hook up. My treat. It's too hot here. I gotta run. Fingers signed off abruptly. Rusty reached for her rucksack and headed for the shared garage. Her bike and her muscle car were the only vehicles left in the building. The elder child was a 1971 Pontiac Trans Am that she had tinkered with a little bit. At a glance, the mods were street legal-ish, but some home-crafted components did things that would raise eyebrows of any traffic cop. The younger sister was a Harley-Davidson Dyna Lowrider S. It was loud and obnoxious, but it could tear some serious ass. She stared at her children for a moment, and with some reluctance apologized to the older sister. Sorry, baby. Opting for the bike, she checked fuel, donned her helmet, and sped out of the complex. E was the closer of the substations, but she'd already outlined her potential route to her friends. She didn't wish to miss anyone by mistake. Weaving between abandoned cars, she occasionally caught movement in windows. For a brief moment, this big black mass leapt from building to building in the distance. Rusty slowed down for a moment. What the fuck? It looked like a gorilla maybe, but it seemed way too big. At any rate, it seemed wise to take the longer route to substation A. The ride was uneventful. Any person she encountered scurried away. It was clear that people were hiding everywhere, but finding Sigh was not her mandate. As soon as she got to the first substation, she could assess what would be required and how they would move forward. I hope they are okay. It was a chilling thought, but some of the images depicted predators. It didn't matter if they were abnormal creatures or plucked straight from some fantasy bestiary. These were killers. Claws, talons, canines, tentacles, tendrils, spines, and stingers that looked potent from distant photos. You knew their scale up close. Coming to a slow stop, she took a deep breath as she dismounted. Feeling for her ice axe, she steeled herself and entered the underground. The lights were fucked, she mused. Not a complete shock though, this was half-assed Britain. Tapping her bike helmet, the inbuilt torch cast a beam through the darker shadows. Posters for gigs and movies to come blinked in and out of the view, making Rusty search a horror-filled zoetrope, full of fake smiles and ridiculous slogans. Man can get. Some of these shadows cast horrific lines across the throat of that poster, so Sarah took it off and tried not to focus on the unnecessary stuff. Something was off about the air down here. Perhaps the air filtration systems had been compromised. Tapping another button, a pale green HUD appeared in her helmet. The oxygen readings were fine, and there wasn't any particular extra gases bar a slight increase in methane. Killing the HUD to conserve power, she continued her hunt for the entrance to the substation. A moment later, she rounded the corner to find a man smoking a cigarette. He was tallish, maybe 5'11" to her 5'8". His beard was going to be a thing of beauty once it grew up. Very dark hair, which he envied, even the occasion of silver strands. His eyes seemed relaxed, nonchalant even, but that didn't track with the posture. He was slightly tense, like he might run or fight, and despite his best efforts to hide it, the contents of his plastic bag seemed precious. He was just outside 6 feet distance, so she decided that she would try to lower the tension by removing her helmet. "Hi," she opened. "Good afternoon," he replied while extending his hand. Charles Dunham, reporter for Quasar News. She ignored his hand. "Pat Heavens, crisis medic," she nodded. "Why haven't you evacuated?" Charles slowly put his hand in his pocket. He seemed a little disappointed. I was on the tube when whatever it is that happened. He seemed particularly sheepish about that. "So you've not been able to establish contact with your paper?" "Not as such. I wanted to call, but reception is poor and Wi-Fi seriously kills the battery." His eyes opened a little wider. "We haven't suffered another terror attack, have we?" "I can't confirm that at this time, I'm afraid." "So we could have been attacked?" "I couldn't possibly give you an answer. I'm yet to be briefed and in no position to offer an official statement." "So even the authorities have been caught off guard?" "Several units of a pre-planned force have been deployed, so I'd hardly call us off guard." "Several units? Just how big is this?" "As I've stated, I'm yet to be briefed." "Have you any idea of the casualties or fatalities, or even where Ground Zero was?" "Sir, I have no answers for you. I would advise staying underground or getting to a hospital. I'm sure the authorities will be looking to evacuate those they missed in the first sweeps." You've mentioned evacuation twice. Just what the hell has happened up there?" Rusty stared at him for a moment. "It's deserted mostly. There have been mass sightings of beasts around the city. They're extremely dangerous." She walked past him. "Sir?" He spun to continue his assault. "Put out that damn cigarette." Rusty left Charles annoyed and without answers. As she reached platform 3, she went over the schematics in her head for the access point. All she needed to do was tap her helmet against the poster. A series of clicks and beeps confirmed her success, and as the wall opened up, reliable lighting blinked into life, and substation A became active.